Good evening to you. Today, I want to approach the subject of fear. So I want to categorize fear into fear because of powerlessness. That is, when you are unable, inadequately skilled, not equal to the task, you have fear. And siblings of fear would be anxiety and stress. Then there's another kind of fear when you are relationally disconnected, when you don't know who loves you, to whom you belong, you have fear also. Thirdly, because of an unsound mind, you have fear. So when you are continually in a mode of powerlessness, where you assess that what you are asked to do, your resource level is less than your demand, supply is less than your demand, you move into fear. And if you continue like that, plus if you have an issue of who supports me, who cares for me, to whom do I belong, who takes ownership of me, those two roots of fear produces an unsound mind, which goes into the side of, moves over to psychiatric fear. So today I am not handling that. I am just giving you the roots of fear and how you can be resourceful not to move into fear. So remember, fear arises in the context of no power or no love, to put it very briefly. So a child who soon after being breastfed and very satisfied is completely comforted, confident that the child has all she or he needs and is quite well looked after, providing the basic need of food and love. So from that we move on to someone who could have been responsible for you, who could have saved you from the trouble. Then you had fear because of powerlessness in the situation. Now the flood is over. But because that person whom you thought will come and salvage you didn't do that, in spite of the flood being over and you are safely in safe territory, you have a relational fear. He will let me down again. Just take, for example, he will let me down again. So next time around, when you just see some water, you may get fear. Suppose the incident happened in a boat or a ride, you may not even want to get onto a boat ever or get onto a water situation ever. Then it has become unreasonable fear, out of place fear. So what's happening? Initially it was an incident when your fear was reasonable. You are powerless and fearful, that's okay. But it got attached that someone who could have helped you greatly didn't help you. Then you have a mistrust or break of trust situation. So moving from a situation of powerlessness and in a situation of reasonable fear, now anytime you have to go through water or rain starts and you feel threatened that this rain may get inside my house, quite out of proportion to the original incident. Now these things play up on the amygdala, hypothalamus, and now you are into bottom-up regulation of being driven by the last fear. Similarly, you can be driven by the last thrill, you can be driven by the last grief, you can be driven by the last danger. So that is the deja vu situation, because the medical term deja vu is that from something that happened in the past is making you impulsively push forward. So when we are into thinking and doing empathic executive, our prefrontal cortex is involved. When we are into imagining, our temporal lobe is involved. Now imagination is good in the sense of when you're going somewhere, you see a dangerous road, curves with a slope on the other side. Your imagination says it is dangerous, it is precipitous, go slowly. So you anticipate danger, that's part of the temporal lobe function, and then you get over it and you forget about it. But if you have a slip on a slope, skidded off the road and you narrowly escape, any little slope, any little mountainous driving, you might fear and you may not want to drive on a mountain ever again, then it has become unreasonable fear. So that is a deja vu phenomenon where the fear of the past is pushing you impulsively forward, and your executive, empathic, cognitive behavior is now disrupted, and you're into a bottom-up regulation of a past stimulus acting on you via the amygdala, hypothalamus, and the hippocampus system. It does another thing. The past push, the push from the past, the impulse from the past makes you miss the mark. What is miss the mark? Life goes from season to season, in fact hour to hour. Every hour there is on your mark, get set, run and breast the tape. Now, I'm not saying every hour you're running a race like running the 100-meter race, but our brain is designed every hour in the default mode network. In the default mode network, dopamine begins a U-curve until the U-curve heightens up, and then you satisfactorily come down, initiate, navigate, successful in conclusion, and reward. And that reward is the catalyst, the stimulus for the next hour to do another well-aimed thing towards success. So we live from hour to hour. God has designed our default mode network like that, and having done the dopamine part of salience and focus, serotonin begins to work in the conceptual tracts of the prefrontal cortex, looks back on what you did, and does that is good, you can improve like that. So serotonin works to improve, which I have told you before, is a check and a balance to do better. How much did I do? Where did I not achieve? So serotonin does that. Now a child needs to do this for studies. You need to do this for tasks assigned for you. So we have a thing called the task performance network. So default mode network is DMN, and the task performance network TPN, they work together to deliver the good result. So after one such achievement, on your mark, get set, go, you go to the next achievement. Now, of course, the next achievement would be something very simple like cleaning up your house or cleaning up your car. It could be as simple as that. And for a kid, it may be studying up a certain section that he can do in that 1 hour. So it moves on. So I'm on this topic of where does fear come from? What will happen if we do not prevent fear getting into unreasonable fear? And then how does dopamine and serotonin balance themselves in your brain? So we are into looking at the doable on your mark, get set, go, breast the tape. Putting it in another language, initiate, navigate successfully, end conclusion, and the reward that you did it well to the best of your ability are the things that keep us on the reward motive method. That is top-down regulation. But if we allow our last impulse to push us too much, we miss the mark, or we don't start where we should have started. We get driven past from that last incident of fear, frustration, unpleasantness, grief, thrill, danger, unfairly treated, unjustly treated, court case. All these things well up in our hearts, and then dopamine is now on a dopaminergic mode on the things that were not good, and it is going up, and it's going up into addictive behavior. Dopamine 1 receptor goes into dopamine 2 receptor. Dopamine 1 receptor is physiological, dopamine 2 receptor is addictive, and that last bad thing is the temporal lobe has got active almost above the prefrontal cortex and is now driving you into the bottom-up regulation. To add to this, You also have, if you get into too much imagination, not only the past drives you now, fear or grief or whatever it is, you project it to the future. Now, temporal lobe does the future thing of pulling you from front, attracting you from front, in fact, distracting you into expectation of fear, expectation of peril, expectation of judgment, expectation of failure. What else do you want to act? Expectation of grief. Now my mother died so suddenly, now my father will also die. Or my dog died so suddenly, and my cat will also die. Or whatever is precious. My son did so badly, now my daughter will also do badly, and you will start speaking like this. So what is happening? Deja vu came from behind and you miss the mark. Now jamau is what is, it's two French words. Jamau means the imagination is focusing you into the future and pulling you from front into a distraction, and you miss the mark again because you did not take the mark, you did not calculate, calibrate, and do the on your mark, get set, 100 meters, let me take it like that, or 200 meters, or 400 meters, or 800 meters, short-term planning, mid-term planning, or a long-term planning, till you have to navigate through successful in conclusion. Kid misses it when driven by the digital screen. Adults miss it, usually driven by fear, anxiety, stress. So when fear moves into anxiety and stress, our neuronal behavior changes. Our normal neurons are into preferred mode firing, unidirectional. So they take an impulse and they carry it through in one direction. When you are into fear, anxiety, stress mode, our neurons get into multi-directional firing. That means the one neuron tries to get from here, and then they are not communicating a thing forward in one line, doable, achievable. Then the adrenocortical axis gets into action. Then you have adrenaline, cortisol, you are in stress, your palms are sweating, you feel palpitation, you can feel your heart beating, and it goes all that way. So I am on this point of how kids miss the mark because of overdrivenness of the pixel screen, and you may miss the mark because a past impulse is now pushing you to the future, or it pushing you forward too much, or else the past impulse is so great you are projecting, next thing also I will fail, I will never do well. Now from an incident you begin to prophesy, predict into your character, I am the kind who fails, I am the kind who can't face up to anything, I am the kind whose plans fail, I am the kind people are waiting till I fail. It goes on and on like that. So let's go to some features of, I asked this question at this time, what is your first impression of fear you had as a child? First impression. It might be good to think a little on this. Can you remember the first instance of fear that you can recall? Second question I ask is that fear because of powerlessness, that is, you felt you are not able to match up, or because of love failure, love fracture? What do you think? So what is your first impression about fear? How old were you? Was it because of powerlessness or because of lovelessness? Did it move you to an unsound mind for the next 24 hours? Did you wake up in the morning with the same bad feeling? So which means sleep got disrupted, and sleep also moved into the stress mode. You didn't have your good dreams. Maybe you had all the dreams so bad. Was there a day like that? This process called the spirit of fear, or the spirit that generates fear, got hold of you, and you became a fearful person. Allergies broke out, and you got yourself to thinking, I can handle not much more. Now I want to tell you that when God our Father designed us, he being a father and put us into a good family to enjoy our parental love. We were of a spirit of love. The Greek there is genitive, that means the spirit that generates love, that expects kindness and gives kindness, expects gratitude and gives gratitude, has thanksgiving and gives thanksgiving. And you automatically think, I need to share what I have. That's how siblings do when they're 3, 4, 5, 10, come 14, you remember, you're not as nice as the fellow that was at 12, correct? And if the home is stressful, the fellow might become nasty before 12. So 2 things are happening. You are now not of a spirit of love. You are now generating fear in the simple things. And fearful people also threaten and intimidate. Intimidated people intimidate themselves. That is one thing. Other thing is that you give up the complementation mode and you get into the competition mode. You give up the giving and sharing, getting and giving equally, and you get into a mode of I want to get somehow, anyhow, and your balance goes off even in your family life as a sibling or in marriage as partners. I hope it didn't get very grievous, but if it gets into conflict, you will immediately find people start talking rights more than privileges. It is my right to have my share, rather than it is my privilege to share with you. You remember? This can happen to a 5-year-old. This can happen to a 10-year-old. This can happen to a 35-year-old in marriage. It may also happen to business partners. So watch the 2 sides. I am of a spirit of love and love generates, or whether when did that spirit of fear begin, where fear generates? Thanksgiving, or in this Thanksgiving mode, or never enough mode. Then expectation of good versus expectation of evil. Moving towards success, towards expectation of failure. Did you understand? Then then I need to get into, now I began on the premise that every day there's a on your mark, get set, run the race, breast the tape, a good reward. Now every day good reward is not a award ceremony, cup being given, trophy being given, you're written up on the first page of the newspaper, but every day good report may be simple family stuff. The son hugs you, daughter says, Dad, this happened, or between spouses there's a good sense of alchemy and chemistry. Those are also great good rewards that daily add up to a successful life, satisfied life, and also supplying life. Successful, satisfied, supplying. I call it significance. Why do I say supplying? Because sometimes we have moved on to the demand mode of life. Then I want to move a few more things about fear. A weaned child at the mother's breast is the best example of perfect confidence. So in our early years, our supply was guaranteed and our care and love was guaranteed. Now, if that was not so, both in the area of power and in the area of love, we may have fracture, we may have fear, we may have mistrust. Few more questions. A few more things I'm recapitulating. So I began with the flood story, and the flood fear was quite reasonable. It nearly drowned the vehicle and you got out, or maybe a boat thing is more relevant. It nearly capsized and someone who could have easily helped you didn't help you. Last moment someone else came and helped you. Then besides the powerlessness feeling and the fear, you had an issue with that person who could have helped you and didn't help you. He saved his life first without even considering you. So the issue began with powerlessness and then it moves to lovelessness. This often happens in marriage with kids where they were not provided or they felt inadequate to the task. Then it became an inadequacy in the person. So take care of that for yourself or your spouse or your kids, that what is not enough in skill and equipment, an ability does not move to something of not enough as a person, I can never do well. So with this incident, your threshold for fear could have come down. Once fear was reasonable, now anytime you see rain or you see water level rising, you say, I can't go out of the vehicle. Earlier I took the example of you driving through a mountain and a slope and you have a sliding, you slid off, but you escaped narrowly, and you may get a phobia, fear, never to drive on mountains. I can't drive on mountains. What happened? From reasonable level of fear, threshold has come down. Now fear is evoked at a lower threshold. What are the situations where fear can become unreasonable or pathological or phobic? So that's a little more technical, but just be aware of that, in which case you need to get professional help. Now with fear, our brain chemistry completely changes. Our brain operates, I told you, begins with, when you are doing a task, begins with dopamine and then moves over to serotonin to check back and give you a good report. Good, that was good, but that needs improvement. So you end up 1 hour or the task or this day saying that is good, these are the areas of improvement. But if dopamine doesn't come down, you get into a mode of stress, adrenocortical system gets fired up or initiated, adrenaline high, noradrenaline high, cold hands, cold sweats, and then GABA does not get secreted properly at nighttime sleep, and then GABA is the induction for mea culpa, check you morally. Now man is not only chemicals, but big brain does the final delivery of fear. Man is spirit, man is heart, man is conscience, man is emotions, man, anything else you want to add? Then man is brain. The brain is the delivery point neuronally and neurochemically. Doctors can help here, but in some cases they can't help. So I always say in ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, when kids come to me, before you get to methylphenidate or other drugs, let's try empathic learning therapy or empathic motor therapy. Learning therapy is all the Montessori stuff plus music, arts, crafts and all that, retraining them and take aim games. Empathic motor therapy is grip and ropes, thrill. So I have coined a new term, GARTS, GARTS, grip and ropes, thrill, sports. You can even call it grit and rope, thrill, sports, GARTS, which stimulates intensely through friction. In our center, we have a 3,600 square feet area that looks like a gym, which is calisthenics without weight through gravity balance. Young fellows building up their body, and also it has these grip and ropes, low-level ropes, mid-level ropes, high-level ropes. The high-level rope, of course, has to be done with harness and helmet. And so when kids come with digital toxicity or digitized, if they are over the age of 10, I put them on that. I called it empathic motor therapy. Harvard, we did this for 6 years. Now, 2.5 years ago, Harvard has got into it, Harvard University. They call it Fit Kids. Check it on the Google. Check my blog also, Dr.Lalith Mendis blog, WordPress.com. Check it on Google for Harvard Fit Kids. The principle is that when you get the corticospinal tracts, pyramidal tracts working, friction and vibration kind of tracts working, with maximal stimulation of fingertips and toes, so they best get onto the ropes barefooted but with thick socks, even 2 pairs of socks. And then you do that for 90 minutes. Their brain gets so aligned with pyramidal tract and glutamate, they overcome the dopaminergic drive towards dopamine drivenness. So they get a relief from digital toxicity. Then we tell parents what to do. We don't charge for this. They can come again next day if they want to, but at least twice a week they have to do this 90 minutes so that we train them for dopamine to come down after 45 minutes. So the track goes for 45 minutes. Then in the next 15 minutes, we have a kids bakery or a juice bar or just simple cards game, a little bit of non-confrontational or non-competitive stuff, helping each other, that kind of thing. And then again for another 45 minutes, they are put on the track. So we observe the principle of the default mode network for 45 minutes dopamine and 15 minutes serotonin, check back, improvement, good reward, get their hourly cycle back before. And so we instruct parents. So I speak to the young fellow scientifically. You have to be on their side. Parents try to complain, but I don't allow the parents to complain. I just speak to the young fellow and get him on my side. Those who come to me are about 1:4 girls to boys. More boys come. My theory is that testosterone makes them go more toxic with the digital screen, whereas girls are more into chronic fatigue syndrome, and they don't perform in class, fall asleep, and they can get to cutting themselves, self-harm, to get on the endorphins and feel cool more than boys. Boys get more and more violent, into dangerous thrills, pornography, sexual stuff, gambling on the internet. That's the way the digital, and of course drugs. Cocaine is called electronic cocaine in UCLA experiments, because the digital screen is called electronic cocaine in UCLA research, and in Massachusetts research it's called digital heroin. But actually the pixel screen's effect is more like cocaine, where the dopamine doesn't come down, dopamine keeps going up, and dopamine 1, DA1 physiological receptor turns to DA2 addictive receptor, which is the foxhole conversion. You understand the word foxhole? When a soldier is confronted with danger within 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, unrelenting, then he moves into the foxhole. Same with the boy or the girl on the digital screen. I have done this before. So I'm Dr. Lalith Mendis. My last substantive post was at head of Department of Pharmacology in a state medical faculty. I know some of you know me. I'm just saying this for others who may not know me and may be hearing from other countries. I live in Colombo, Sri Lanka, and I am reachable on this WhatsApp number +94 49 +94, beg your pardon, +94 77 49 59 214. And my former clips on COVID science, digital science, I call these clips happy hour, because I have pitched strongly that dad and mom at 7 p.m. must stop everything and give it to their kids. 1 hour is good, 2 hours is excellent. And in that mode, if you can go to the kids' bedroom while they are falling asleep, till their GABA begins to work, gamma aminobenzoic acid, and they become empathic. They become morally conscious, and they want to tell their dad, mom, this went wrong, that went wrong, this bad thing happened. Get it out of them before they go to sleep. So please, 7 to 9, however brilliant you are, however hard worked you are, however politically savvy you are, 7 to 9, please give to your son and daughter. You can decide, if you have only 1 hour, whether you give 7 to 8 or 8 to 9. That falling asleep time, maybe some nights you can do. One night take it from 7 to 8 to be with them, other night take it from 8 to 9. So you establish a culture when the fellow is young, that you will come to the bedroom and sit down on his bed, sit down on a chair. Don't agree to no coming to my room. My room is my territory. Never agree to this, never. Your son may be 20 years old, but he's your son. Your daughter may be 19 years old, but she's your daughter. Don't agree to this. Now, don't think I'm a dinosaur from a Jurassic Park. We raised up our only child like this. My daughter now is a senior lecturer in a medical faculty in Sri Lanka. She qualified in Sri Lanka, so it worked well for us. I am recommending this strongly. Your best career is at home. Please, Dad. You may be a corporate magnate, but corporate can hire you and fire you. Your home can't hire you and fire you. That's your best career. So I say this all the time. A few more technical things. So when you're in the fear mode, you feel you're on a court case, and you may get to the point, even a child may get to the point, best form of defense is offense. Check your son or daughter when they start reacting like that. then they need help. You're welcome to come to me. As I said, I don't charge anybody for this consultation because I started this as a research project. When I realized that the digital screen is doing some funny things. My early research was migraine and irritable bowel syndrome. When I was with Professor Dr.Lalith, Colombo Medical Faculty, Medicine Department, I was his only registrar at that time before the local system came. We did a huge study on irritable bowel syndrome and subsequently some things about migraine. And when the kids are on the screen, I said to myself, they are getting migraine in some other place. So the dopamine serotonin balance in the conceptual tracts of the prefrontal cortex changes. Now, this may sound a little medical, but you can simply understand. This is the prefrontal cortex where we think executive, empathic. Dopamine goes up and comes down, and serotonin begins to give us a check back, which is good for curriculum, which is very good for character. So when the check back is not there with too much of the pixel screen or anything else that takes you from top-down regulation to bottom-up regulation, anything that does from the past deja vu, impulsive forward, or from the future attracts you in the wrong direction. Imagination had got so powerful, the kid is not doing, but he's imagining. It can happen to you. That's how gamblers get caught. They have a drive from the past, and they imagine every day they are going to win millions. That's the kind of jamabu. These are phenomena that medical people know from temporal lobe epilepsy, but this happens also with strong drives that you are projecting things from the past into your future. So gamblers see every day they are winning the jackpot, every day they are winning the millions, so they will get into debt, they will sell or mortgage property and get into gambling. So that's the reckless behavior that kids are getting into. And as you know, from in the digital screen also, there's reload gambling, there are internet card, you have to buy things, you have to buy guns, you have to buy gems to keep going up on the platforms. So take the digital screen seriously. So here are a few things more before I wind up about fear. Yes, so your child should do in a session, actually it is every hour, he can imagine, but he must do 70% of what he imagines. So 70% doing, 30% imagining or showcasing. I did this before. Pictorial processing kids are more into imagining. Their kinesthetic acoustic tracks in the Prof. Howard Jenner model, their kinesthetic acoustic visual tracks are more activated than their intuitive, empathic, relational, linguistic and management tracks. So they are constantly imagining, and you add to that the digital screen spook, magic and whatnot. They are imagining and not doing. You keep a balance on your child's behavior and digital life. So whatever they imagine in the hour, keep time, 30% imagination, 70% doing. Don't get them into imagining all the time. That's where the digital screen will push them to. Then they keep changing curriculum. At the age of 17, they don't stick at one curriculum. They change from this to that to the other. Then parents have a big problem. Let me see whether there's anything else I want to do today. Aggressive reaction. Strangely, kids who commit the offense makes offense his defense. Who taught him that offense is the best form of defense? You'll find this, and I've said this before, dad and mom, when they do mistakes, it's a time for investment. Till they do a mistake, they go bent on thinking they're right. So when they do a mistake, take that evening, sit down. So my example or parallel of mistake management is the cross, where someone else took our error. Dad, this is the time you take the error of your child. You can't be there only to win the accolades, first prize in a sports meet, first prize in a swimming meet, first prize in a prize giving. That's not the only place for the dad. The most important place for the dad is when the kid does it wrong, violates the boundary, hurts himself. At that time, he is looking not for mom, he is looking for dad. Mom makes it internally safe and secure. Dad helps him to advance, expand the boundary, And when he violates himself, when things become unsafe, who should be there? Dead. So daily you give him a new step, new stretch, do it all the time. But when he really hurtles himself into danger zone, who should be the hero? Who should be the champion? Of course, Dad. Give that time. It may be the whole evening. You absorb the error. No righting wrongs. WRITING. Don't repeat in his ear the wrong he did, and you reinforces. Don't get into retributive justice. The police is there, the courts are there for that. What is retributive justice? Let him get what he deserves. That's not for Dad and Mom. We are not into just desserts. We are into righting his wrong. RIGHTING. Absorb his wrong. Take the heat out of him. Give him a good night possibility. Say, son, don't worry. I'm with you. I take the brunt. We will settle it. I will handle it. Absorb all you can. That is the cross. Cross absorb nails, barbs, insults, spitting, bad court case, kangaroo court, innuendos, everything, near nakedness. But it took all our hurt, all our hate, all our humility, all our horror, and all our hiding, the things that put us on a back foot. The cross took it all. So you're the one. You are the champion. When must you be champion? Not when the son is running first, when he's running last. Then become champion. You have invested something in your child for life. Same for daughter. Even if it's daughter when she errs, who's there to safely course correct that. So course correction, getting the compass back again towards the North Star is your business. So I'll stop there. This was on fear and the imagination that should not drive them or draw them out missing the mark. So every hour, every season, life is about on your mark, get set, navigate, successful, and in conclusion, reward. Let their sense of reward motivate them. Don't bribe them. Smartphone after O-level, please avoid it as much as possible. Negotiate it and say, no, darling, not after O-level, finish your A-level, because they bust up. I have met enough kids, 9 A's O-level, 3 F's A-level. Can you imagine it? Yeah, and they don't even care. So please, keep kids off the smartphone as long as possible. I mean, at least as A-level is over. And they have got over the competitive stage. Sri Lankan universities are very competitive, and don't offer them the option of spending millions and sending them abroad. I think it's a grievous mistake. Let them do their first degree in Sri Lanka, whatever the field. 17, 18, 19, your son, your daughter needs you, not a foreign country. Needs you. Don't agree to this business of we can send you wherever you want because we have money. Very foolish. Keep them close to you. Second degree, postgraduate qualification or postgraduate training, yes, you can consider that. So by 17, they are on the curriculum. They should train for their professional career. And then from 24 onward, they are set on that career. By 33, they must have 1/3 of life. Same for you. By 43, they must have 2/3 of life. Same for you. It's called half-life. And your other 1/3 is significance, making others great, sometimes greater than you. Remember, there are two kinds of children, basically, according to the brain tracks: the professional kind and the entrepreneurial kind. Entrepreneurial kind are into speculation, imagination. They are more kinesthetic, acoustic, visual. That's okay, but according to the measure. So they'll get into business. But the professional kinds, they keep the rules, they keep the lines, and we need professional kinds. We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need nurses, we need teachers, we need them. Yes. So if you want to ask me what are politicians, are they entrepreneurial or professional? I don't know. But remember, your kid may be professional, he may be or she may be entrepreneurial. The thing about entrepreneurial is according to the measure. So don't let them think too big, because the pictorial processing kids are already thinking spook and fantastic. So you have to be careful that they measure out their speculative capacity. It's God-given. We need speculative people. All researchers are speculative, innovative, and imaginative. Otherwise you can't do research. Researchers like us, we feel there's a frontier, there's knowledge beyond the frontier. We must go for the knowledge beyond the frontier. Academic researchers are not happy with what is discovered. They want to get on to the things that are not discovered. So that's how. So in 19th century science, all innovators were God-fearing people who prayed to God, saying, show us how we can do better. Alexander Fleming, who did penicillin, Lord Kelvin, who did the absolute thermometer, all of them. They prayed to God and said, give us better ideas to improve humanity. So that is entrepreneurial, speculative, the imaginative, the good side of it, but in proportion. Before you think outside the box, you must know the box. Please write it down. Before you think outside the box, make the box. So professionals are all into making the box, making the lines. You understand. I think I have spoken enough. Thank you for listening. We'll meet again on another day.